Hey, let's talk about creating content that actually gets you leads and indoctrinates your potential clients into actually being paid clients. Hello, everybody. Hilson is the Millionaire Marketing Mentor, and you are watching this in our Fastest Path to Cash Facebook group. If this is scrolling through a news feed and you can't hear, crank up your volume, and that should fix the problem. So, the other day I was teaching a class. We call it a marketing teaching moment. We do it weekly, and I used to broadcast them into the group. I paused that over the last few months, but every week I teach a usually 15 to 45-minute type training for my clients. And this last week, actually just on Tuesday, I talked about 7 content tweaks that turn your posts into leads and sales. And it actually ended up being 8. And I want to teach you today 5. And funny thing is, if you actually one of my existing clients and you've watched that training or you listened to it, then actually 2 of the 5 I will be sharing today are very different than what I shared with you before. So let's just talk about it briefly. By the way, I would love for you to chime in. Where are you calling from? Where are you watching? Calling from? Where are you calling from? Where are you watching this from? And if you're watching a replay, just type in replay. I usually am pretty good about coming back and commenting and engaging with you. So if you've got questions, that's good. By the way, another thing is that I'm going to have 2 requests. I'm going to make 2 requests over the course of this training today, which will probably be about 10, 15 minutes long at the most. And I would love to hear back from you when you watch this. I would love to hear back the answers to those questions. All right. So maybe actually I should start with that and tell you what they will be. One is I'm thinking of doing a very specific training for you in this group that actually is a little bit more about content. One of the lessons I'll teach today, I could go a little bit deeper into this. But if you would like that, when it comes to it, just type in. Actually, I'll tell you what it would be. Just comment strategic content creation. Strategic content creation. That will let me know you want me to teach more on this. And the second thing is, for the next 30 days, I just roped myself into doing 1 Facebook Live a day for the next 30 days. I'll talk more about this in just a moment. So I'm looking for topics. I want to be of service. I have a pretty good idea what to teach, but still, my ideas may be maybe on target with what you want, may not be. So I would love to hear from you. What are some of the things you would love to learn more about in your business? What do you currently want? What do you want to focus on? What do you feel is the thing you want to learn more about? All right. So I've got my feedback camera, aka my phone. Bo is here. Sabrina, good to see you. Man, I don't know how do you do this with all the kids. How do you actually get the chance to show up? So awesome to see you here. By the way, I was thinking about messaging you, Sabrina. So maybe after I finish this, I'll message you. All right. Look, let's talk about content creation really quick. If you've never heard me talk about this, I am just absolutely an outspoken hater of people that go like, you don't need content, you just need to throw cold advertising at people. Because truth be told, that even first of all, I think I only know one person in our space that actually is true to the world, true to the word, where they just pump cold advertising towards the audience. That's all they do. There is no content. But most everybody else, when they do advertising, they still create content and then they advertise this content, and this content goes towards something else. Funny thing is, even those, oh, Sabrina, sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Even those who preach, you don't need content, just do this. Funny thing is, the very message you don't need content is actually a piece of content they're using to sell you on their content less funnel, right? So that's number one. Number two, I have added literally millions of dollars to my business because of a handful of pieces of content that I created over the years. Back in the day, in the early 2000, 2001, I was churning articles, and really about a dozen of those articles were driving traffic to my business for a decade plus. Today, articles maybe are not as hot as they used to be. Today it's blog posts, which is still articles, but posts in social media and then video, live video is obviously a big deal. And I look at it this way. When you create content that's going to live for a while, when it's designed well, that content is like digging a well and always having water in your reservoir. When you're thirsty, you just go in there, pump some water from your well, and you're good to go. Versus buying advertising is like running into a grocery store, dropping in a couple of bucks, getting yourself a bottle of water. Sure, it quenches your thirst right there and then, but the minute you don't have money or you're not near a grocery store, you can't buy water anymore. That's it. You're dying of thirst. So I think content is really, really, really important. All right. So, Sarah, awesome. Good to see you here. Look, 5 quick tips. Number one is be strategic. If you're creating content just to create content and you're not thinking through what's really needed, like what kind of content should you be putting out, then you're missing a boat. And I see this all the time. I see people showing up and the way the messages are all over the place. And some of them relate to what they actually do for a living, some of them they don't. So let me share with you this. For me, number one, I teach on topics that are important to my audience. Why? Because I want to attract more of my audience. I want to ingratiate myself with my audience. And even that, I teach on topics that allow me to position myself as an expert, that allow me to plant a message in my audience's minds, like why certain things are important. Even this, I actually preach organic marketing and content creation. So naturally, teaching you how to create more content actually gets you leads and sales is kind of an important thing. All of my clients, I teach them the strategy called spotlighting, and within spotlighting, we have this concept called lighthouse content. Very important content that allows you to call out to your target market, and target market raises their hands and go like, "Oh my God, that's me, talk to me," and that allows you to then follow up with them further. So again, teaching content makes sense for me. You want to think about this: who is your audience? What do they want to learn? What do you actually sell as a service or product, or what do you teach? And based on this, what do you have to teach your audience to make them think about what it is that you do, to make them desire it and make them think that you're the right person to buy it from? That's just a top line on strategy. I often, if you look through my content creation, if you follow one of my teaching methods, which is watch the context, you will notice that I often talk about flight path. So, are you creating content that if when your prospects find one piece, they can spiderweb to a few other pieces, and those pieces all together create a runway or flight path on which the prospect can take off and come into your airport, right? Do you do that? So that's the first big tip. Get strategic. Don't just show up and go, la, 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 here's some good lesson for you today. Actually create stuff that makes sense, and it's going to support you for a long time to come. Second big tip is teaching less and providing more insight. So it's not necessarily maybe teaching less. It's let me rephrase this. It's less information and more insight. All right. And by information, I mean like hardcore data, how-to tips. So this particular training is a bit of a mix. By the way, this is a very hard thing for me to do because I love to teach how-to stuff. It comes naturally. But you have to realize the more how-to you teach, the more overwhelmed your audience gets. The more how-to you teach, the more overwhelmed your audience gets. By the way, the more how-to you teach, the more to do your audience, the more stuff your audience has to do, the less likely they are to reach out to you to actually, get them to teach to do more things, right? So crazy kind of it's a paradoxical thing that you have to remember. And now what's information versus insight? So I want you to think that within the last 2 topics, ideally, some of you had a couple of insights. Insight number one, oh my God, I shouldn't be just showing up and doing like, hey, what's my good topic for Facebook Live? I should have some sort of strategic plan, like 12 topics lined out that will call out to my target market, explain what I do, position myself as an authority, and indoctrinate my audience that what I do is desirable, it's the right thing to do, and I am the right person to buy it from. You mean I should be doing this? That should be your insight number one, right? I didn't tell you exactly how to do this. I gave you a few big pieces. Second thing, the more information the more how-to stuff you give your audience, the more overwhelmed they get, the less likely to buy it from you. Did you get that? Right? So 2 insights right there out of the first 2 lessons. So when you teach, often think, how can you create a metaphor? How can you give people a little bit of information, but show them more about what that information means and how they should be using it in their businesses? All right. So that's number 2. Number 3, by the way, I'm going to out myself. This is my notes from the training I did for clients. I always do this, right? I got pages and pages of stuff that just my framework and thoughts. Let's see who else we've got. Gina, good to see you here. Aloha. What do you mean aloha? You in Hawaii, Gina? Really good to see you here. Lisa. Lisa is our enforcer slash cheerleader. Awesome. All right. Number three, call to action. All right, call to action. This is so important. When you create your content, when you create your videos, and you don't tell your audience what to do next, guess what they will do? Likely nothing. Some of the basics call to actions in, let's say, live video is stuff like comment. If you're watching a replay, type in replay. You're creating an interaction, an engagement. But in many of my posts, I say things like, "Hey, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Hey, if you agree, give me an amen." Even something as basic as simple as asking your audience to reply. In this video, I told you I'm going to have two calls to actions, right? Which is, by the way, not the smartest thing. Sometimes one is better than two. But my calls to action. Number one, I just talked about strategic content creation. If you would like me to do, I don't know, like a 45-minute full-blown training on how to think strategically when you're creating your content, then type in strategic content creation. And somewhere within the next 10 days or so, I'll create a full-fledged training on this. And number two, I will be showing up over the next 30 days, every single day, usually 3 to 33 minutes or 5 to 55 minutes, somewhere there. Probably most of them will be shorter, some of them will be longer. But daily for the next month, you're going to see my bold head over here, giving you some sort of information or ideally insights. Hope you got that. All right. So I would like to know, what do you want to learn more about? What kind of topics do you feel would be helpful to you? Type in, just give me some ideas, and hopefully one of your questions, or just type in the question. What would be, if you and I could go out for a cup of coffee, and you go like, "Adam, I want to build my business faster, I want to increase my sales," and if we were to do this, what would be the top, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions you would just want to pepper me with and get inside my mind? That's your chance to do that, because hey, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be answering your questions and giving you information that you want to grow your business. All right. So that was number three, call to action. I just included two. Number four, amplify. And amplification can be organic and paid. Paid amplification, you probably understand. You pay for ads, you boost your post, and ta-da, amplified. But what most people miss is organic amplification or organic scaling of your post. So for those of you that are watching this and are sticking with me, man, this is gold. This is something I've kind of figured out for myself, and it allows my content to not only usually get, 40, 50, 60, 100 likes and 40, 50, 20 to 30 to 40, 50 comments, which again, maybe a lot of people have much more than this. I don't have a big audience. So for me, those are pretty good numbers, right? And I repeatedly get some people that are always chiming in, and then I get new people to chime in, which is very important. You want new audience. So how do I organically amplify my posts? Very quickly. Number one, when people comment, I engage with them. Usually the first 2 or 3 comments, I comment back. You want this ladder-like conversation, which Facebook goes, "Hey, something is going on here. This content is being talked about. Let's actually give it more push. Let's show it to more people." Then, as people comment, I just like the comments or love the comments or whatever. I don't comment back at first. I just go, all right. Again, not only they're commenting, but my liking it keeps pushing it back to the top of the news feeds. And then I go back, usually, half a day later, and then I comment. This allows each one of my content pieces to live in newsfeed for usually 2, 3, 4, 5 days, where most people's stuff shows up for a few hours and it's gone, right? That's organic amplification. You already did the work. You showed up, you delivered your Facebook Live, or you wrote a post, you wrote an article, and then nothing happens. Well, you got to ignite this fire, ignite the flame, ignite the spark, then you've got to stoke the fire. You've got to feed that content with some sort of nourishment so it will spread, all right? So that's number 4, amplify. And then number 5, this is one of my personal challenges, which is I am consistently inconsistent. I love doing something for a week, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I just get tired of it. So how do you do this? How do you Build a muscle of consistency. Well, one way you could create a challenge for yourself, just like I did this morning on a call with clients. Some of them were talking about this stuff, and I thought to myself, I essentially roped myself into this on purpose, kind of accidentally, kind of on purpose. And I'm like, I know I need to show up and do this, and I need to have a little bit of external motivation to do this. So, consistency actually is a big deal. And give yourself enough room to be consistent, meaning don't make a decision to go like, I'm going to create 3 pieces of posts today consistently for the next 3 years. It's kind of overwhelming. But decide I'm going to consistently do 3 posts a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Or 2 posts, Tuesday and Thursdays, and on my days, and then Saturday. If I'm really optimistic, I'll post something on Saturday. Just give yourself a rhythm and frequency that you can actually sustain for a while. You want to create a sense of win, right? Again, for me, coming up with content is easy. What's tough for me is doing my hair every day and then making myself look presentable in video. I'm very vain. If I don't look good, I don't want to go on camera. So that's a challenge, all right? So anyway, that's it. Those are my 5 lessons. So again, let me repeat them really quick. 5 content tweaks that turn your posts into leads and sales. Number 1, be strategic. Don't just post whatever comes to your mind. Create a plan so your posts actually build upon another and actually serve not only your audience but serve you. Number 2, provide less tactical and how-to information and aim more for inspiration and ahas. All right, insights versus just info. Number 3, create CTAs, calls to actions. Make sure that you tell your audience what do you want them to do, act to the next. Number 4, amplify your content. Once it's there, make sure that you give it some push so it spreads farther. And finally, number 5, consistently. Don't just do it once every 6 months. Ideally, do it on a weekly basis. And if you want to really challenge yourself, get into a daily being in front of your audience. A very big deal in a fast-paced social media. All right, that's all I've got. Judy, thanks for joining us. You want to catch a replay? Jen, thanks for joining us. Katarzyna, awesome to see you here. Late for you in Ireland. Gina, types of content for each program. Awesome. I see some questions coming in. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I had 2 calls to actions. Remember, once again, the first one, if you want me to teach a full-blown session on strategic content creation, just type in strategic content creation, and I will do that. And number 2, again, if we could sit down for a cup of coffee, you could tap into my brain. What would be the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 questions? Just top 2. What would be the top 2 questions you would want to have a conversations with me and ask me about? All right, that's all. Adam Urbanski, my marketing mentor. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. And until my next Facebook Live, mañana, here's to success. Cheers.